Hello, my lovelies. So I'm going to show you how to edit this picture. We are going to use a Lightroom preset, and we are also going to use Photoshop actions. So the first thing I want to do is open it up in Lightroom and put my preset on there, and then we'll open up into Photoshop. So I'm going to be using the Transpire collection, and these presets are so easy. You literally just hover over the one you want, you click it, and it will play that preset for you. So I am going to run Arden. So I'm going to click on Arden right here, and you see it did all the work for me. So there's just a few things that I want to tweak just to really get this picture exactly how I'm going to want it. So anyway, I'm just going to bring these blacks down just a bit, just to add a little bit of depth. And then this edit is a little bit too desaturated for me. So I am going to actually bring just the vibrance up. I'm not even going to tweak the saturation. I just want to bring that vibrance up a lot. Just to really give it some color, give it some life, and that's good. So I'm going to export this and open it up into Photoshop. And you see here, I have opened this picture up now into Photoshop, and we are going to use some actions on this picture. So if you aren't familiar with it, this little like play button icon is your actions, and if you don't see it, just go to Windows and click on Actions, and it'll pop up over here. So anyway, I'm going to actually start off with the Arden collection. We are going to use Arden and also the Wander to edit. So I'm going to start off with the Arden collection, and I am going to actually start with a base action of smoke. I'm going to press play, and it's just going to let you know that it's going to flatten your image, so be prepared before continuing. This base action has to flatten before it can continue. So I'm going to press OK, and it's going to do all of this work for me. Now, this edit is a little too moody for me, so I'm going to bring down my opacity. So come over here to the opacity, and we are just going to bring it on down quite a bit, right about there. And then I am going to add on a tone. So I'm going to scroll on down here to the tone add-ons, and I am going to play Robin. So I'm going to click Robin and I'm going to press play, and you see it's done the edit for me, but again, it's a little too dramatic. So in order to reduce this action, I'm just going to come up to the opacity, and again, we're going to lower the opacity. I'm going to bring it down to right about 20 or so for this picture. I don't want to go too overboard. The key is to not go too crazy on any action. I always like to adjust my opacity. I typically will either raise it or lower it depending on my picture, but you guys have to remember that every picture is different. Even the same pictures in this same set at this same session, I might tweak these actions a little bit because lighting is going to change from different angles and that sort of thing. So keep that in mind. What works for one image may not be the perfect recipe for the next. So now that I've done my base action and I've added this tone, I also want to add on some extra color. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom to the extras, and I'm going to click on Color Pop and press play. And this opacity, I'm going to bring down just a tad. So right about there. And then I think that's good for the Arden collection. Now I want to use the Water collection. So what you'll need to do when working with the skin actions, which is what we're about to do, we're going to tweak her skin a little bit. You want to flatten, and it'll tell you that when you scroll down to the facial retouching actions, it says flatten your image before running any of these. So I'm just going to right click and press flatten image, or there's a flatten action right there. It's just habit for me to flatten it on my own. And so what I want to start off with is I want to smooth her skin out a little bit. So I'm going to click on smooth skin. I'm going to press play, and then it just lets you know what kind of brush you want to use. It's really, really easy concept. You're just going to grab your paintbrush over here and make it the right size for you. If you're not familiar with like keyboard shortcuts, you can use your left bracket on your keyboard to make your brush smaller and your right bracket to make it bigger. So anyway, I am going to make sure that I'm using a white paintbrush, and my opacity is around 50, which is perfect. I like to start about 50 on smoothing skin. And so now I'm just going to come on my picture here, and I am going to brush on, and I'm not letting my mouse come, I'm not like unclicking my mouse. I'm just letting it be one solid motion here. And if I do let go of my mouse and have to re-click, I just try to make sure I don't go over the same spot. Because my opacity here is only 50%, if I were to go over it again, you see that it really smooths that skin, and it almost makes it, depending on your picture, it could make it look a little plasticky. So you don't want to go too crazy and lose all of your texture. So if I do happen to have to let go of my mouse to reposition, I'm just going to make sure that I am not having to click, or I'm not going over the same spot twice. Now again, every picture is different. Sometimes I do want to go for that look of really, really smooth skin, or sometimes I really need more opacity. So I will go at a higher opacity, or I will, run over it more than once on a spot. But for this picture, it's a little bit more natural. I just want to smooth it up a little bit. So we are just going to go over her skin here, and that looks so much better. I'm also not going to forget her arms and her neck area, but I don't want the opacity that high when I go on her neck, so I'm just going to lower it a little bit, and then we're going to tackle all of that. And then for the arms, I'm going to have it maybe back up to about 50 or so. And we are going to get these as well. So if I do smooth skin on the face, I typically like to do it throughout. Get the neck, get the arms, the legs if they're showing. You do want it to all look pretty uniform. So just make sure you don't forget things like this. So anyway, we have smoothed out all her skin. And now I am going to press overall brighten and press play. And again, it's going to let you know what kind of brush to use and all of that. So I'm going to zoom on in here. There's a few spots that I want to run over. Now my opacity on this, I want to lower it a little bit because I don't want to go too crazy. So I'm just going to hit some of these spots that are a little on the dark side, like that, just to brighten them up a little, maybe under her eyes a tad, and honestly, even the spot like above her eyes, because it does look a little dark there. So I'm just going to run over all of that, and then I'm going to right click and I'm going to flatten here. There is one more thing I want to do, which doesn't have an action. It's an easy tool to use. It is right here. It's your spot healing tool brush. Literally, I'm just going to hover over this little dot here and click, and it's going to get rid of that for me. The same with just a few of these little spots here and there. I just want to smooth those out a little bit. So no action needed. Just use that tool. And it's so easy. So anyway, kind of took care of a few of those spots. And what I'm going to do now is work on her eyes. So I am going to come down here to the eye retouches. I'm going to press eye detail and press play. Again, it lets you know what kind of brush to use. So I'm getting a paintbrush. I'm going to bring this opacity all the way to 100 and make sure my brush is white. And I'm just going to go over her eyes. It's really going to make them pop and stand out. And I actually also like to use this over the mouth and the teeth. Sometimes it doesn't look the best on certain pictures, just depending. But sometimes I really love to use it. So I am going to flatten this now. And one more thing I want to do is I actually want to click on overall brighten and press play one more time. I'm just going to brighten a few spots. I'm going to lower my opacity down to around 50 or so again, and I'm going to kind of actually brighten up around her mouth. She's got a good bit of shadows kind of going on her gums and her lips and all of that, and it's just a little harsh for this picture. And I'm actually also going to hit her eyes and her eyelids all in one swoop, just because they were a little dark here. So that looks so much better. I'm going to zoom on out, and oh my gosh, her face just pops. I just love it. It looks so great. The only thing I'm noticing is I want to get rid of some of the brightness I did right under the eyes. So easy fix, you guys. This is why we use layer masks. I'm going to click my paintbrush, but this time instead of a white paintbrush, I'm now going to use black, and it's going to basically erase what I just did. And I also want my opacity all the way to 100. I'm just going to come right over here and come right under these eyes, because I did a little bit too much brightness by accident under her eyes. So that is much better, and I'm going to flatten. And then I'm done with like the skin retouching, so I'm going to come up here to my vignette section, and I'm going to click on soft brown vignette and press play. I'm going to grab my paintbrush. I'm going to make it really big, like really, really, really big, so that way I have nice soft edges. You also want to make sure that your hardness is at 0. When you're doing a vignette, you want all the feathering you can get. You don't want really hard edges or it's going to look totally fake. As far as my opacity goes, probably around 50. And I'm going to show you what I mean as to why you want 0% hardness. If I have high hardness, and I do it, you can see those lines right there. You see it doesn't look good. So I'm going to undo that, and we are going to bring that hardness back down to 0. And now when we brush it, it's soft, it's feathered, and it doesn't look like we have painted on a vignette here. So I just like to swoop around like the bottom edges just to kind of make it dark and add a little bit of drama there. But I did notice that I got a little bit too much on her body, so I'm going to grab my paintbrush, and we are going to do the same thing we did just a minute ago when I did too much brightness under her eyes. I'm going to switch my paintbrush back to black. I am going to raise my opacity, well, maybe not to like 100, maybe around 75 or so. Make my brush a little smaller and just kind of brush over her body where I think that I did a little bit too much vignette. And let's go ahead. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to add in a sun. So I'm going to come on down here, back down to the Arden collection because I want to use the go-to sun is like my favorite. So there's all these light add-ons in the Arden collection. I'm going to click on go-to sun and press play. It's going to do all the work for me. I have this gorgeous, bright, happy sun, and I'm just going to put it up here kind of in the top corner. I actually want to make it a little bit bigger. So all I'm going to do is transform it, and it'll let me drag it and make it bigger. So I'm just going to click Control T on my keyboard or Command T if you're on a Mac, and I'm going to drag the corner. But one thing to remember, if you want to keep the ratio the same, you want to keep your sun in a perfect circle, then you don't want to just drag. You want to click Shift on your keyboard before you drag, and that will keep the ratio the same, and it'll keep it a perfect circle. If you were to just drag it, however, you could make it oblong, you can make an oval, any of that. I don't want that, so click Shift on your keyboard before you resize, and it will stay a perfect circle. So anyway, that is the edit here. And let me show you before and after. So here is the before, and here is the after. Such a cute edit. It's really happy. It's really fun. So anyway, we used the Transpire collection, Lightroom presets. We used Arden, and then we used 2 different action sets. We used the Wander and the Arden collection. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching. Have fun editing. Bye.